Just give me a reason to keep my heart beating. Don't worry, it's safe right here in my arms. As the world falls apart around us,
Let's all go back together.
all we can do is hold on.
Together.
Hold on.
What is up, guys? DT Ninja here to share with you guys some huge news from JUMP FESTA this weekend. Kenshin had a stage for the Hokkaido Arc, and at the very end, Kurosaki sensei, the author's wife, she revealed that there is an anime in the works. Yes, guys, an anime for Kenshin. So the legend is coming back. I cannot wait. So I wanted to, get this information out there. But also this video is to review JUMP FESTA and the Hokkaido Arc and Kenshin stage. So I'm going to tell you all about what happened and also a little bit more on the anime reveal. So yes, guys, take a look at this. Okay, so that is the first look at the new anime, and I'm liking how it looks. Apparently it's Linden Studios, so apparently Tokyo Revengers had a recent anime done by them. So we're hopeful for good things. So I'm looking forward to more updates on that. But we're gonna get to that at the very end of this video. Let's get to JUMP FESTA. So JUMP FESTA is a huge event for all manga and anime in Japan, and it covers 2 days. Saturday and Sunday. And on Sunday, Kenshin had an entire panel, a stage. Now, before the stage even began, there was this really unique and awesome video of Seijiro Hiko's Sengoku tale. So we're talking about the very first the very first Seijiro Hiko in the story. If you guys remember, I think it's volume 6. It's at the very end. It's an extra tale. They did a video with the original voice actor of Hiko from the Japanese, and they did a manga video of it with the voice actors in it. It was just so cool to see. I haven't seen a Kenshin one like that. Last year they did another Tale of Frankenstein. It's just one of those kind of extra things they do, but I recorded it, so I had to tell you guys about it. And here is a little, a scan of it, so it gives you guys an idea of what it is. So take a look. All right, guys. So yeah, they had included the Seijiro Hiko's original voice actor, which is awesome because he's one of my favorite voice actors. He plays Akai Shuichi in Detective Conan. He plays Seijiro Hiko in Trust and Betrayal and the original anime. So yeah, that was really cool to see. It's one of those extra tales, but it's really cool. Animation in manga. So basically it's manga, but it's animated. It's got, sound effects coming out. It's also got, the voice actor. So that was really cool. Now, when it played, the actual stage, we have introductions. There's 4 people. There's an editor, so the editor-in-chief of SQ magazine, and so he's the one in charge of SQ magazine. And then you have 2 I guess, I don't know who they are, but I know their names. Murakami, and the other one is Yoshikawa. I believe there's some kind of celebrity. I'm not exactly sure if they're celebrity or if they're just a huge fan. Obviously, they're a huge fan of Kenshin. And one of them had a Kenshin t-shirt that had all the characters on it. He was really excited. The other one was dressed in more, kind of a formal outfit. He had, a tie. After their brief introductions, they have a battle. So their battle is to tell what their favorite scenes from the Hokkaido Arc are. So Murakami gives his take on what his favorite stuff is, and Yoshikawa is the other guy. He gives his take on it, and then towards the end of that session, then the Kurosaki, Kaoru Kurosaki comes in, and she awards the winner. Who is the most convincing? So let me get to the first part. So Murakami's favorite scenes, he has two of them. The first one is Sanosuke versus Ono Tomitaka. And I totally agree with his assessment of what he was saying. And it really was like, wow, he feels the same way as I do. So I was just getting like chills when I was listening to him, because I was like, holy crap, this guy is just like me. I was the same way, thinking like him, and I've been, reviewing and discussing them, so I felt that. So like, I was like, wow, okay. So the very first one, obviously, is the battle, Sanosuke and Ono Tomitaka. So you see this on the screen, where it shows Sano beating the crap out of Ono right after he, realizes that, he can't defeat him, and he gets knocked out, right? So this is after he gets the Futai no Kiwami, he breaks his shoulder, and that happens. But anyways, he goes on to talk about how it's not just Sanosuke and the handshake, which is one of the most impactful, one of the most really unique scenes of last year. But it was Ono Tomitaka as well. The character himself, he was part of the Kinkaku Heki, and the way that the author presented him, it made it seem like he was vicious. It seemed like he was, just a killer. But then halfway through the fight and towards the end of the fight, we start to see something change in him. We start to see his backstory. We start to see that maybe there's something that he was forced upon, and this is not the way of life that he was really chosen. It was chosen for himself. So it's interesting to see that, and also the fact that, you got the handshake towards the end, and then Sanosuke having the knowledge and traveling around the world, and the worldly knowledge to hold out his hand and actually give him, the world-class handshake, the proper way to end a fight. And of course, we all know what happens to Ono, right? He ends up, trying to shake his hand, and his subordinate, his master under him, literally cuts his hands off so he cannot shake his hand. It's just like, it made us like feel sympathetic towards that character, but also it gave us insight to the Kinkaku Heki that maybe there's something there where they're forced into this life, and it's not what they really were wanting. So it was interesting to see both sides. But yeah, he really talked about how Ono, not only Sanosuke had a great impact in that chapter, but Ono as well. And it was done incredibly well. And I agree, that chapter was one of the best chapters of last year. The second one that he pointed out was Nagakura. Nagakura Shinpachi. This is when Kenshin is fighting Byakuya, and in the middle of the fight, he says, let's take a break. And so Byakuya looks at him, and of course Byakuya can see through his fighting spirit, right? And he's like, I really want to see what your fighting spirit is, because I'm sure you're strong. And are you a wolf too? And this is when Nagakura says, I'm not really a wolf anymore. I'm more like a Tanaki, right? He mentions the word Tanaki. Or no, it's not, I'm not just a dog, but it's more like a Tanaki. So anyways, he mentions the word Tanaki. So that was something that he really enjoyed. The fact that he's very strong, and that he kind of put a little humor into, that intermission between the battles. So those were the two things that Murakami said that he really enjoyed about the Hokkaido Arc. So Nagakura Shinpachi, Ono Tomitaka, and Sanosuke Sagara. On the other hand, we have Yoshikawa, and his side, he is fascinated, and this is very interesting. He's fascinated by Kanryu Takeda and the battle where he has Iran, and it's against Honda. This is in volume 6. So we're talking about the battle where, Iran is surrounded by, the gunpowder, and he basically, kind of eggs Honda on, come at me, because I'm going to explode these bombs. These papers are going to explode. And then, of course, Honda's like, you can't explode those, you moron. They have to be in a certain form. And then you got the whole thing with Kanryu actually begging on his knees. And it showed that there was a lot of thinking involved with the development of Kanryu. This is right where he is begging for his life, where he's like, I lost, it's over. But actually, there's something else involved. It's kind of like a strategy, right? Because remember, when he's sitting there, he's talking and pouring his heart out, we get to learn more about Kanryu. So, yes, he kind of gave up, but in a way, he did kind of pour his heart out, and we got to understand who truly Kanryu really is. And then you get the whole thing with Iran, and he stands up, and he has no weapon. Ashitaro comes in, and of course he's like, draw the Mugenjin, and of course it explodes the gunpowder that's everywhere, right? So it was all set up, and the way that scene was shown was, spectacular, right? And Kanryu really was developed well in that chapter. So that was kind of his take and his favorite scene from the Hokkaido Arc. So Murakami had 2, Yoshikawa only had 1, but both of them had a really good, arguments and trying to convince the audience what was truly their favorite, and gave great examples. So then we get the Q&A with Kurosaki Sensei. There are 7 questions that were asked. So the very first question, Murakami is very excited, and he says, how did you feel when you first heard about the idea of the Hokkaido Arc? Now, obviously, there was some concern, right? But remember, the Hokkaido Arc was actually thought of because of the live-action films. And Nobuhiro Watsuki also stated this with the Takeru Sato interview that I translated, by the way, that it was, in fact, the Kenshin portrayal in the live action that brought upon Hokkaido Arc. Now, but this question is basically, what is her first feeling when she, heard about it? I would say it was probably initially concern, but I can't remember exactly what she said. I didn't write it down, but it was something like that. But I do know the live-action films had a great influence on both Watsuki and Kurosaki Sensei. So the second question asked is by Yoshikawa, the other guy. He says, Kurosaki Sensei, who are the characters that are easy to think about in terms of dialogue and behavior? So she says, Aran is the easiest to write. And she goes on to say, well, when I had the meetings with Watsuki Sensei, obviously they work together, they collaborate. Watsuki Sensei said to me, you should be Aran. So basically become this character. I think it's a compliment. I think because, Ron is very intelligent. She's a novelist. She has to think a lot. So maybe that was kind of his thinking, But anyways, it's interesting because she says it's easy to write Sonosuke's character when I am thinking so deeply about Iran, as if I'm looking at the story from the point of view of his point of view directly. So in other words, what she's saying is Watsuki Sensei finds it easier to write Sonosuke's character when his wife and the story collaborator is actually thinking about the more complex and deeper character like a Ron, especially because he thinks very intelligent, he's wise. So it's interesting, but it's also showing kind of the complements between the two. One's a novelist and one's a mangaka, but it's interesting how she pointed that out, that Sonosuke is also part of that. So that's interesting. The third question, do you and Watsuki Sensei ever disagree on something? I can't remember exactly what she said, but yes, there are disagreements, obviously. So I intend to translate and re-watch them, so I will be doing a full translation of the entire script and everything, so you guys can get a better feel for it. But that is one of the questions was asked. Okay, the next question, was there a scene where your proposal was accepted at once? And what I got from this is she said something like along the lines of, there was a scene where it's just emotion only, like, surprise or wait a minute kind of thing. Now, I don't remember, like I said, I didn't write this one down either, but I do know that there were cases where she was able to pass on to what he wanted and he accepted it right away. So that's kind of the question they were asking. The next one, number 5, what was the most impressive scene in the Hokkaido Arc? Now this is very interesting because I have to agree with Murakami. He states that the triple Kuzo-ryusen, we're talking about the 3 consecutive Kuzo-ryusens in a row. That scene was very impressive, I have to agree. Now, I think that Kurosaki says something different because she says gomen, gomen, but I can't remember exactly what she said is her favorite scene. So I'll have to get to that in my full, script translation. The next one. Did you decide from the beginning to draw Kanryu Takeda in a cool way? So this is obviously Yoshikawa, because he is fascinated by Kanryu Takeda, and she says, no, not exactly. I got the idea from watching the live action film. We're talking about the very first one, right? In 2011, 2012, Rurouni Kenshin live action. Kanryu was in it. But also, a very big influence came from the Tazuraka musical review. This is where all the characters in Kenshin are actually female, and it's a musical. She said that Kanryu displayed this sophisticated but beautiful look, and she found it very interesting and thought that maybe we can create Kanryu in a more sophisticated, maybe develop him more, and that's where the idea came from. That's what she said in that question. The last question, what is your favorite weapon of the Kinkaku Heki in the Hokkaido Arc? Now, she mentions 2 of them, but for the life of me, I cannot remember. I watched it, and I remember watching it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I didn't write it down. So again, I am going to translate all 7 questions and give you guys some feedback. But that is an overview, more of a review of the JUMP FESTA stage for Kenshin. Now, the very end, obviously, Kurosaki has a huge announcement, and 3, 2, 1, yes, it's a Kenshin anime. So we don't know what is the actual anime. It just says new anime starts. So it's a new project. So I don't know if it's a full adaptation or if it's a reboot. It did say Kenshin Revisited, or Kenshin Once Again, the legend once again. So we get some insight, but we don't actually know what is going to be animated. Is it going to be the original, the whole thing over again? Is it going to be the Jinshu arc that was never animated, or is it just going to be the Hokkaido arc, which is what we've been discussing? Whatever we get, I am excited because finally we get some more animated, material for Kenshin. So guys, that is pretty much it. What do you guys think that it should be? Do you guys want to see the Jinshu arc animated? I do. I would love to see it. I also want to see the Hokkaido arc. My personal feeling on it, though, I don't think there's enough material to do the Hokkaido arc yet, because there's only 40 chapters. I feel like it's not enough. Most of the anime I've seen, they have at least 80 chapters or something like that. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm just glad we got more Kenshin. So anyways, guys, this has been an update of major news for Kenshin, and hopefully you enjoyed the review of the Jump Festa. And like I said, follow my page on DT Ninja 831 on Facebook. I will update you on this whole Q&A with Kurosaki Sensei. So I will see you guys in the next one.